Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones, and tonight I'm going to get into political rhetoric. Title of this video is Political Rhetoric is Dangerous. Now, I'm looking at both sides of the aisle here. So, without any bias, are both sides utilizing political rhetoric? Yes, but one side is actually defending their point. Talk about Trump is defending their point, defending his point. I mean, you have the media, Hillary Clinton. She's out there lying, telling everybody that Donald Trump is a danger to democracy. And guess who's repeating the same thing? Kamala Harris is. Now, first of all, I want everybody to understand something. We do not live in a democracy. See, those are the words that the Democrats are using. And generally, who's actually building up the most rhetoric and lies? It is the left wing. Now, I have seen in a few Kamala Harris interviews, and by the way, she does poorly on the interviews. She does not answer questions. Now, it could be something that is a strategy because their record, the Kamala Harris, the Joe Biden record, is so bad that they don't want to talk about their record, so they're blaming everything on Trump. Now, as you know, the media is trying to cover up for Kamala Harris because they're in the tank for Kamala Harris. Now, what's going on in Springfield, Ohio? The left wing media or the mainstream media try to blame Trump and JD Vance about bomb threats. Well, when I actually went and looked at the facts there, it came from overseas. The governor of Ohio came out and said it's all a hoax. Doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump and JD Vance. But if you are one who's an uninformed voter, you would think differently. And this is why individuals have to be a little bit more vigilant and have to be a little bit more understanding. Now, you may not like Donald Trump. Okay. There's some things I don't like about him, but he does mean well. You can disagree with his policies. Kamala Harris came in and said, well, the economy under him was basically bad, but they brought in the coronavirus. Well, he did everything he could about the coronavirus. They didn't do anything about the coronavirus. He started the damage control of the coronavirus. That's something that is not going to have a cure all overnight because nobody really knew about it. But Kamala Harris is coming in talking about how she's going to have an opportunity economy. Now, this is all rhetoric because what is her opportunity economy? What I'm thinking is she's trying to give more people government benefits. I mean, she does love the undocumented individuals who are coming into this country. They are basically criminals. She's talking about housing. First of all, you're not going to get 3 million houses built with a government partnership. You're not going to do that. In fact, you don't even need 3 million houses. Houses are selling. Where the demand is for the apartments. See, now once we have more apartments, okay, more houses being sold, rent can come down. And I believe with apartments, the reason why rents are so high is because during the Rona, the government did not made residents pay, which was a bad thing. See, one of the problems in this country, and this is why you have all this rhetoric, you have to look at the people's mindsets. And a number of individuals don't want to work. Let's be honest. I work for the city of Indianapolis, and you have a number of individuals who are homeless, begging for money. They're going in and out of the welfare office. Now, this is what Cloward Pivens is, and this is what you're seeing in Springfield. Well, what Cloward Pivens is, it's a strategy where they get numerous people, whether they're migrants or domestics, to go and flood the welfare office. And when they flood the welfare office, they're going to drain the welfare office of a lot of money. They're going to basically bankrupt it. And once they bankrupt it, then the government is to come up with something new. Now, regardless of what Kamala Harris is saying, she wants tyranny. The Democrats are always saying Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. No, they're a threat to democracy, and I can prove it. They want to cut free speech. In fact, if Donald Trump wins this election, they're going to turn around and say the Republicans had election interference by Russia. That's coming out again. Heard Hillary Clinton on MSNBC going all the way back to 2016. Well, she's lucky she's not in jail for all those emails she had. Now, I believe Hillary Clinton is upset because she didn't become president. And she believes that the election that she ran against Trump in 2016 wasn't fair. Well, bottom line is we have an electoral college. Certainly she won the popular vote, but lost the electoral college. And the reason why we have an electoral college is so every state can get representation. We don't want states like New York and California electing a president. Now, if you want popular votes, this is when you vote for your governors, your senators, your congresspeople, and your local elections. But the rhetoric is getting out of hand. I don't like it from either side. But I do hear it more from the media. And the media is for the Democrats. The problem is, reason why they don't want Trump to get in, because he's interfering with their will to have more power. We don't need the Democrats to have more power, because today's Democratic Party, now the old Democrats were the party of the Ku Klux Klan. And then they became the party of the working people. But now they're the party of the big corporations. This is why a lot of your celebrities endorse the Democrats, because a lot of your elitists are now Democrats. It's like the parties have flip-flopped. The Republicans have become the old Democrats, where they're the party of the working people. And it's funny because when Donald Trump has his rallies, he's not afraid to go into the belly of the beast, where the Democrats go. He was just in Uniondale, New York, which is in Long Island. That's a blue state. Has Kamala Harris ever gone out to a red state outside of a city? No, because she doesn't want to have anything to do with voters who are particularly in the Midwest. Why? Because they're not going to vote for her. She has no policy. She can't answer questions. She did an interview and spewed out more lies. And this is what rhetoric actually turns into. It turns into lies. And then people get into their feelings. And then this is when all the violence starts. This is why you have to be informed. And it is the media's job, whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right, to call out the monstrosity. The media is not. They're allowing it to play out, especially coming from the Democrats. Now, I saw the other day when J.D. Vance was getting interviewed by Dana Bash of CNN. She had a lot to say to him, but gave Kamala Harris a softball interview. The problem is with Kamala Harris, she's also following people like Hillary Clinton, spitting out all of this rhetoric, like Donald Trump is going to tax everybody. See, the way Kamala Harris is talking, she's like the smoker, okay? And I'm going to use this analogy. When I talk to a smoker and I don't smoke, and I say, your whole body smells like smoke, and they say it doesn't, that's because they're immune to it, because they've done it for a long time. So when somebody like me tells them that their smoking doesn't smell good, I'm looked at as the kook or the crazy one, the loony one. With Kamala Harris, she's following all the rhetoric that everybody, Obama, Oprah, all these knuckleheads on the left are filling her head with. She's repeating it. Now, if you are an informed voter such as me, I'm not going to vote for her because number one, when you're constantly flip flopping, that means you're doing anything to get elected. And we can see that because what she's going to do, and here's some more rhetoric. Oh, well, the old, I call the John Kerry effect. I voted for the 87 million. I actually voted for the $87 million before I voted against it. I'm like, what? So you voted for it and then you voted against it. You flip flop. And when I see a lot of flip flopping, that means you're indecisive. I cannot trust you to make one good decision. And that's what Kamala Harris is. She's talking about this opportunistic economy. Well, what do you mean? You see, if you want to make an opportunistic economy, here's what you do. Let's start with energy. Bring back the pipeline, not the Russian pipeline. I believe it was the XL pipeline. Start drilling in ANWR. You see, if you bring down your energy prices, then once you bring down the energy prices, that's going to rub off into other sectors like health and have more competition instead of having the elites control everything. See, when you talk about price gouging, you're basically having monopolies and duopolies, and they control the market. And when they control the market, they set the prices. This is what's happening at some gas stations. But what you got to do is this. If you want competition, you have to basically do something to get into the market. See, when you have small businesses, and she talks about small businesses, she says she's going to give everybody a $50,000 deduction or tax credit. First of all, in order to get that $50,000 for a small business, you got to have expenses where you can write the $50,000 off. Now, what she could do, what Trump could do to get people in the small business arena, have them deal with the SBA, but you have to have some type of qualifications, a business plan, a legitimate business plan. What kind of product are you going to produce? And how is that product going to benefit society? Not you, but society. That's what you need to do. Cut interest rates. Cut inflation. See, right now, inflation came down from 9 to about 3.1. Get it down to about 1.4. And when you get the energy prices down, the cost of home oil goes down, the cost of gasoline goes down. If we do everything here, see, this is what Kamala Harris doesn't understand when it comes to the economy. She's talking about a child tax credit. Well, children already have a tax credit. It's not the government's job to take care of children. And see, when you start giving people way too many entitlements, they think they're entitled to a free life. See, welfare and government programs weren't there to give you a lifestyle. They were there to help you until you can get on your feet. So this is that rhetoric out there about giving away free stuff to people. And this is what individuals are voting for. Now, what this rhetoric is not telling you is this. The Democrats really want to keep their power. Because if they lose their power, they have nowhere to go. We need to get the Democrats and even the establishment Republicans out of Washington. And what they're using is this rhetoric to keep Donald Trump from getting in office. I mean, he's had 2 close calls. Now there's more facts that needs to come out. But now he's talking about the dog and cat situation by the Haitians in Springfield. Now I mentioned something about that. And if I said that they were actually doing it, I have to retract that because I don't have any proof on it. Now, I have seen some videos. We're down in Haiti, they are doing it for rituals, voodoo. But here, rhetoric is being spewed, particularly by the left in this country. They want to silence people on the right. You see, it's rhetoric if the right fights back against the left, but it's freedom of speech if the left does it. The problem is the left, for a while, and we're talking about the last 60 years, has controlled the media, has controlled the education, the government, the jobs, the religion. That's the 5 power conferences of society. And when you have one side controlling everything, it becomes believable. And you can tell a lie every day until it becomes believable. Now, the bottom line is this. The people who are going to believe the rhetoric coming from Hillary Clinton and people like Taylor Swift, Oprah, it's going to be the uninformed women voters and the uninformed black voters, the old black voters. You see, bottom line with the old black voters, some Gen Xers and a lot of baby boomers and some living silent generation people, is they want to be alive to make sure that they actually see the first melanated woman as president. That's why they're voting. Many of these individuals aren't working. They're getting some type of benefit. So they don't care about the working man or woman. But we as the working man or woman, we're actually supplying them through our taxes money so they can live. Now, I'm not knocking the Social Security system. And I like that Donald Trump is not going to tax people on Social Security. I don't believe Social Security recipients should be taxed. Why? Because they paid their money into the system. I mean, I like the fact that he's not going to tax overtime. Now, I don't know if that's going to make it through Congress, depending on who is in control of Congress. But if you want to get people to work, if you want to have an economy, you have to give more people somehow more of their money. When you're taxing or confiscating everything from them to redistribute more money to people who don't belong here, who are criminals, then we have a problem. And see, this rhetoric has gotten so bad here, particularly from the left. You have Americans. Our government right now doesn't even care about American people. They only care about the people who are coming over here. And see what's happening with the people who are coming over here. Well, they're getting everything and they're not even part of America. But what's going to happen is the Democrats want to make the newcomers Democrats. That's really what it's coming down to because they want their population to grow when it comes to their party because the more voters they have, the longer they can stay in power. They can also gerrymander all the districts to where you get nothing but Democrats elected. Now, I'm just going to tell you this. When they start saying that Trump is a danger to democracy, they're calling the kettle black. They're a danger to democracy. They are playing with Cloward Pivens. They're playing with communism. They're playing with socialism. They don't want free speech unless it's their speech. They are against families. They are against a number of them are anti-male. That's right, anti-male. Now, I'm not going to talk about the alphabet community because I'm going to tell you something. But in the alphabet community is not going to be voting Kamala Harris. Everybody in the unions, they're not going to be voting Kamala Harris. But I just want to get it out there that the rhetoric, like the polls, that's rhetoric coming from the mainstream media. And see what the mainstream media is doing with the polls is they're not really polling and they're using old data. But because you have a number of people who are uninformed and they don't understand the data, they believe the polls. See, what the Democrats want is a gullible or ignorant society. Why? Because they can control that society. It's just like religion. Now, I believe in God, but there's a lot of rhetoric around religion. What religion is used for is to control the masses. This is what they do in education. See, when you do not look at everything as an individual and you become a follower, you're like a sheep. You're going to get slaughtered. And that's what's happening in this country. Bottom line. When the debate came out, I had a belief that, wow, she's remembering all the answers. Everything was rehearsed. She could now, I'm going to use the word alleged. Now, it was found out back in 2016 that Donna Brazile gave Hillary Clinton the questions. Donna Brazile is very shisty. She worked for Fox. I believe she worked for ABC. Now, David Muir and Lindsey Davis had something to do with what went on in the debate. They should pay dearly. They should lose their jobs. See, what we need in this country is media that's actually going to deliver us news. But see, right now, we don't even need the media. Many of us who are on YouTube have X, we have Truth Social. We get all the action as it comes to us, and it comes very fast. When the media is all the air, we're already broadcasting something. But as I look at Kamala Harris and her sit down interviews, she can't answer a question. She still hasn't told us what an opportunity economy is. She still hasn't told us about capital gains. So, you got people investing. If you have a C corporation anyway, they're taxed twice. That's what people don't know. Your dividends are taxed It used to be the estate tax. Somebody passes, the living people had to pay 55% estate tax. I mean, you think about it, we're taxed on everything. It's like we are a commonwealth. I mean, we have a sales tax. You can even call fees taxes. When we pay our phone bills, we pay taxes. We pay taxes on our lights. So the government is getting all this tax money, but they're wasting this tax money. And if you really want to have a mass deportation, the biggest thing to do is cut the welfare off. Get a database, see who's getting welfare, and cut it off. When the well dries up, people are either going to perish or they're going to find a way to recreate their civilization. Now, they could do it here if they understand the rules, or they could go back home. Now, I do understand why some of the migrants don't want to be there. And Americans should listen to some of the migrants who have come from places like Venezuela. I mean, the ones who can speak English, because they will tell you all about communism and socialism. You look at what's going on right now in Venezuela. Well, Maduro and the socialists took that election when they didn't win. And they're still fighting about that. And Maduro, he wants to arrest his opponent. And you know, with that kind of rhetoric, people like Kamala Harris are picking that kind of rhetoric up. You've already had Venezuela silence people from using X. And don't think that can't happen here. This is what the left wants. They want tyranny. They want communism. They want a government that is going to control them. And if you want your government to control you instead of protecting your rights, you are a weak person. But the media, the mainstream media, is part of the government. I call the mainstream media the shadow government. I mean, when Kamala Harris gets on television, they don't ask her any tough questions. They let her evade questions. They're trying to make her out to be presidential when she's not. I mean, she had a small interview in Philadelphia. I believe it was WPVI Channel 6. The guy asked her about the housing. I want to know about you. And all she talked about was, I grew up with a sister. I grew up in a nice home with, I mean, everything. But that's not answering her question. She won't answer questions. And this is why her rhetoric is so bad when it comes to blaming Trump for the economy. He didn't bring her and Biden this economy. They brought that on themselves when they signed the executive orders. She was the tie-breaking vote, tax on tips, the 87,000 more IRS agents. And you see, if you allow these people in power, your freedom is gone. Now, there are ways that they can stop the nonsense. Congress. Now, do I believe that Kamala Harris is a full-blown communist? No, I don't. But is she bad for this country? Yes, because she doesn't know enough about the systems. She was a district attorney. Now she talks about how she battled the cartels. She didn't battle the cartels. She put a number of black people in jail for marijuana and laughed about it. She's got California values. And then you have to ask her, well, why doesn't she talk to her dad? Her dad is a Marxist. She gets it from her dad, but she doesn't want to have anything to do with her dad. Well, the media doesn't ask her about her dad. The media doesn't ask her, well, how are you going to bring inflation down? how are you going to bring energy down? Okay, why do you keep saying that Trump is a danger to democracy? Do you know what democracy really is? They're not going to ask her these questions. They're not asking her, well, if you think everything was bad under him, how come we're paying more for groceries and gasoline? They're not asking these questions to her. Why? Because even she knows that their record is abysmal and they don't want to have anything to do with this record. They know it's a losing record. I mean, the media made her out to be this darling that did not receive a single vote in the primary. She was appointed. They threw Biden out because he couldn't win. Bottom line, he should have stayed to the end and let the voters decide. You see, the rhetoric that the Democrats are doing everything to try to keep President Trump from becoming president again. Why? Because he is a threat to their power. Has nothing to do with Putin and Xi and all the rest of these guys. That's the media. They're making that up. And the media is scared. Because you get the right FCC chairman in there, they're going to put something on the media. I'm not saying silence anybody, but the rhetoric. And I don't like the rhetoric coming from the right either. I mean, yeah, is Trump wrong for calling Kamala Harris a communist? He should say she has radical views that I don't agree with that don't benefit this country. But do I really believe that Kamala Harris is a communist? No, because she doesn't even like communists. Do you think these Democrats want to live under communism? No. Nobody wants to live under communism. I've been to some communist countries. I've been to Cuba. They're not pleasant places. Haiti is not a pleasant place. But see, when you listen to the media, they're making communism out to be beautiful. Well, we're so good. Why don't they go and live in communism? Why don't they go and live in old Russia, where it was really communist? You look at England. You can't even talk about their government or you go to jail. I believe there was a woman who got imprisoned for praying. Well, how do they know she was praying? And see, when you have a lot of rhetoric, particularly coming from people like Hillary Clinton, Russia, 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 they're going all the way back to 2020 and 2016. They don't have anything. What they're trying to do, they're trying to throw so much shit up against the wall to see what sticks, and nothing is sticking. And the media is lying. This is why Trump always calls it fake news. This is why, as a voter, and that is in all elections, you can't listen to the media. In fact, the media did not even fact check Kamala Harris. No, they wanted it all against Trump. Now, there's an affidavit out that some shenanigans went on during that debate. Now, when more information comes out, I will put that information out. In the end, I'm not going to put any information out unless it's factual. I'm not going to bring propaganda, not to my channel. And what we need in this country, talk about unity. I do see Trump trying to unify people. Kamala Harris is not trying to unify people. Again, when she goes into so many states like Georgia, it's a southern state, her rhetoric is she's trying to act like she's black to get blacks. She's trying to act like a southerner to get people from the South. Well, we see right through that. I mean, she already did the dumb thing with this rhetoric by telling everybody that she puts collard greens in the bathtub. Again, I wash my funky ass and my funky feet in the bathtub. And even when you clean the bathtub, there's also remnants of that bleach and that Ajax left in there. You could get sick. You wash your greens in the sink, wash them with colander. And then you go ahead to put the salt, pepper, the apple cider vinegar, the smoked turkey necks, the neck bones, anything smoked in there. That's what you do for some greens. Use chicken stock, put a little butter, put a little sugar in them, whatever you need to do to make those greens taste good. You want that smoky taste in those greens. Everybody does their greens different. But Kamala Harris putting out that rhetoric like she can make a bean pot of greens. Woman can't make any greens. I mean, the first thing you tell me, you put them in the bathtub, well, you already defeated the purpose right there. And then she's repeating the rhetoric. That's her problem. The media's feeding it all to her. But one thing I'm getting tired of is her not being able to answer questions. And where's Napoleon Tim? We'll call him Tampon Tim. Napoleon Tim. Where is he? He's bad. He can't say too much because it was 2020 when the George Floyd incident took place. And this city got burned down. He's not going to get any respect. Bottom line is, you really have to be careful with rhetoric because you have a lot of hateful rhetoric out here. I mean, the feminists have hateful rhetoric against men. You have misogynists. They have hateful rhetoric against women. And this hateful rhetoric out here is going to get some people killed. Bottom line is, we've become very partisan because of the media. And what I believe both sides need to do is sit back and examine what's going on logically instead of emotionally. I know each side wants their person to win. Yes. But you have to go through the system. The person who has the biggest turnout and they have the best plan is going to win. But this is what I don't want to hear in the media. Democracy. Trump is not a threat to the democracy because there is no democracy. We are a constitution or constitutional republic. And everybody needs to understand that. Most people don't care to understand that. Why? Because they're ignorant. You know, when you have all this rhetoric keeps us divided. Now, Kamala Harris is talking about Trump divides people. No, he doesn't. She divides people. Here's how she divides people. She divides people by believing in her mind that she has to act black to get blacks. She has to act Southern to get Southerners. Hillary did the same thing. She thought to get blacks, she had to carry a bottle of hot sauce. What the hell does she need some hot sauce for? Well, you think all of us eat hot sauce with fried chicken? No, we don't. But that's the rhetoric. That's the stereotype. And this comes from people who don't have any idea what's going on. Again, rhetoric is dangerous if it's not checked. There's going to be more rhetoric. There's going to be rhetoric about the election. But I tell you what, most of us common sense folk, we don't want an intrusive government. I believe we have an out of control government that wants to dictate everything to us. Heck, if they had their chance, they would use Bernie Sanders' universal basic income. We'll all be poor. And you see, when we live under socialism, the people who are rich are all of your elites. And one way of silencing people is, well, you utilize people like Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook. Well, he's got some problems right now. And if you think about it, you're on YouTube. There's certain things that we can't say, or they'll come for our videos. This is why you have to utilize other platforms. I mean, speech is supposed to be protected, even if it's speech you don't agree with. And again, when it comes to Kamala Harris, when I talk about speech, it's funny. She does not go into areas where people disagree with her. And to me, this is where you are lost. You only she loves the echo chamber. She has people like Oprah. All the elites are with her. Why? Because they have all the money. She can't deal with people who are ordinary citizens. She thinks she's better than everybody. Bottom line is, if she doesn't win this election, guess what? She becomes one of us. I will tell you, politicians, some of them can stay in there 20, 30, 40 years. Eventually, they're going to have to come and stand in line just like the rest of us. And then they will find out what it's really like. Yes, they have all the benefits. They have a better social security and the health system than we do. In the end, I'm just going to put it out there. You have people like Hillary Clinton, Joy Behar, all the alphabet channels, all spewing this rhetoric. And it's the media that keeps piling on. And I'm going to tell you something, folks in the mainstream media, keep piling on like that, there's going to be some people waiting for you. And they're not going to be kind to you. Mark my word. We're getting tired of the bullshit you all are preaching. Your time is coming. The chickens will come home to roost. And see, you will only find out, mainstream media, when it's your turn. So you sit back there and talk all the bullshit you want, but when your time comes to get in the game, you're going to get muddied up. And I do believe that people need to start going after the mainstream media. And I'm talking about everyday folks. We need to flood the studios. If you want the mainstream media to act right, then it's up to us to get them to act right. Find out where the CEOs live. Go to the top if we have to. Boycott their shows. Because right now, the mainstream media gets less viewership than a number of people on YouTube. Why? Because see, with YouTube, you can watch a video over and over and over and over again. Whereas with mainstream media, it doesn't work like that. Mainstream media comes on live. Once it's completed, certainly they can put it on video, but nobody's watching mainstream media because it is the fault of the mainstream media. Mainstream media is a big propaganda machine. People are getting paid. I mean, people like Charlemagne the Guy. Some of them are paid to spew this rhetoric. Who's paying them? I don't know. But you have a lot of the big corporations, the George Soroses. They have money to put out propaganda. And their propaganda is not fact check. It's not fact check at all. But Anything that's said on the right is always fact checked. You see, none of us would have known about the polls until I actually looked at them, and I've explained to the people. Barry Cunningham is explaining to the people. But see, you have to be the extra eyes. And with the polls, the media uses propaganda with the polls. Let me tell you what you have to do with the polls. Whenever you see a sample like 1,000 LV, likely voters, RV, registered voters, don't even worry about that, because that's really looking at the popular vote. The real vote when it comes to president is look at the electoral college, because you need 270 votes to win. So if the other person, like Hillary, got more popular votes in 2016, she didn't win the electoral college. Now, one must understand that when all the votes are counted up, who certifies the election? The vice president. That's who certifies the election. You get your electors from your state. They send it up to the secretary of the state, and the secretary of the state sends them on to the vice president of the United States. That's how it works in the United States of America. But when it comes to the media is saying no, this is what's happening when we know it's not happening. I mean, Kamala Harris gets up there, lies about what she's going to do. She flip flops. She's allowed to do it. And then if you sit on the other side and you try to check the media, they're going to make it look like you're the bad one. There's a lot of deflection going on, a lot of lying going on. And I'm just going to say this. Kamala Harris, she's told a lot of lies from the debates on to both of her interviews. She doesn't interview that well. Who would want to watch her as president? Bottom line, she doesn't know how the United States works. She's talking about equity. There's no such thing as equity. True equity, you have to take something from somebody to give it to somebody that has less. Bottom line is you have to watch rhetoric everywhere. You have to watch it on your job, you have to watch it at church, social media. You have to watch it from the government. You have to watch it from education. Now, as you heard me say, those 5 areas, those are the 5 powers, 5 power conferences of society. And the left controls all 5 sectors. This is why it worked. You got all this sexual harassment bullshit because you've had some rhetoric. Now, have some women been sexually harassed at work? Yes, they have. But we have a number of them who falsely accuse men of sexual harassment and nothing happens to them. That's the problem. You look at the rhetoric that the left is dishing out, nothing happens to them. That's the problem. You let people like Hillary, Kamala Harris, Joy Behar, Joy Reid, Don Lemon, Roland Martin, Charlemagne the God spew that rhetoric that's false, and they're getting away with it. That's where the problem lies. Now, again, if you are a low information voter, you're going to believe all the rhetoric. Bottom line is rhetoric from both sides. Now, I don't hear it from the right so much. I do hear Trump. He starts calling her comrade Kamala. That's him. Now, is calling her a communist right? No, it's not right. Her views are communist, but is she a communist? No, I don't believe she's a communist at all. I don't. I believe if she had some more understanding and she got coaching from the right people instead of listening to the Obamas and the Hillary Clintons and the rest of the people who hate Trump, she could do better. But the problem with Kamala Harris, no matter how she tries to separate from Joe Biden, she's part of this regime here. And the problem with Kamala Harris is, with all the rhetoric she's spitting out, she's talking about the opportunity. Why doesn't she do it now? She has the opportunity, but she won't do it. She's flip flopping to try to get elected. She's not going to frack. But you have to sit back. There are going to be a number of people vote for issues I don't care about. I don't care about women's rights. I don't care about deleting babies. Number one, I'm not a woman. Number one, women have plenty of rights. And they're trying to use the deleting of babies as a woman's rights issue when, in essence, the states control that. If they don't like what's going on in their state, move to another state if you can. Bottom line, the government wanted out of the deletion business. They wanted back to the states. Deleting of babies is not gone. It's just not with the federal government. And Kamala can say, we'll bring it back. She doesn't have the votes. And that's one thing that's not said. See, on a campaign, you can say what you're going to do, but in essence, you can't do anything without Congress. This is why the rhetoric on the left, it could hurt their chance not only of winning the presidency, but they could be in danger of losing some House and Senate seats. Then they would really be sunken. That's what you have to look at. And then that could even get worse for the Democrats on a local level as well, the state level. You have to understand that when you are associated with the Democratic Party now, you are looked at as one who's anti-family. You are looked at as a socialist, communist, even though it's not true. But it's up to the individuals who are informed to stop the rhetoric. And the way to stop the rhetoric is to get involved and write some of these companies. And the only other way you can stop the rhetoric is to not watch it. I don't watch mainstream media. Be informed. Don't listen to the rhetoric. There's one thing that I don't see the left doing with Kamala Harris. They never push back at her. That just tells me they're in the tank for her. So again, as I sum this video up, rhetoric is dangerous. It's almost gotten Trump deleted 3 times. Found, I believe, a car bomb outside his rally earlier. They're really trying to take this man out because they believe he's a threat to democracy. Well, we're not a democracy. When the people who are leftists and rhinos, they're the threat. So bottom line, look who's calling the kettle black when it comes to the rhetoric. Be informed, because a smart voter is a strong voter. A weak or uninformed voter is a weak voter. See, a smart voter is not going to toe the line. A weak voter will. Why? Because they're easily influenced. And like I say on every video, Rhetoric is dangerous. So I have a question for you. Do you want to live under tyranny? Or do you want to continue liberty? Liberty and freedom take work. You have a number of people who want us to live under tyranny while they enjoy freedom. The bottom line is this: do not allow yourself to be uninformed. Be smart, make good decisions, and utilize your common sense. Government is supposed to be about the people, not about themselves. And we have let the government get out of control. It's time for us to put the government back in its place where they become representatives of the people. And do not allow the media to influence your decision on who you're voting for in November. Because in the end, you have one person that believes in tyranny, the other person that believes in this country. And as I say again, do you want a bad economy or a good economy? Be informed and stop listening to the rhetoric of mainstream media. Mainstream media is an arm of the leftists. They don't care about you. A number of them are being paid. And a number of them are dishonest. And in the end, they're part of the regime that wants to keep you on the plantation. Why? Because they love control. See, a smart person can't be influenced. And when you understand what's going on, you can challenge all of the rhetoric. The bottom line is this. I'll repeat it for the last time. Stay informed. That's one way to navigate through this system. Because in the end, you'll be a lot freer of thought and a lot more educated if you're not influenced by uncontrolled and hateful rhetoric. Because in the end, rhetoric, hateful rhetoric, is dangerous. And it will lead to a lot more violence. So do yourselves a favor. Turn off the mainstream media and educate yourself by reading and looking at what's going on around you. Because in the end, we, who are average everyday people, live in the real world. And the real world has challenges every day. And like Sigmund Freud said, you're going to be part of this world, you got to be strong. Why? Because the strong people are the ones who survive. Or let me put it this way: only the strong survive. And that's a fact. If you don't believe me, Look how many people who listen to the rhetoric became casualties. Because if you're strong, you have a knowledge of what's going on, can't be easily influenced. But again, I'll repeat it. If you're weak, you're gullible. If you're strong, you will survive. And again, Sigmund Freud said this: only the strong survive. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some STEM content, check out my second channel, the QCIS channel. On that channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. And when I finish recording all of my videos, here's what I do. The 411 Talk Zone radio show is posted on X, and now it's also posted on Rumble and through social, QCIS channel, since it's more educational. It's posted on X and LinkedIn. And like I said before, only the strong survive. Don't let the rhetoric make you a dangerous person. Don't be influenced. Keep your head on a swivel. Because in the end, always be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. You all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.